Now, more details have come out about the meeting that no one can talk about. That was supposed to be between two men. What happened in this situation was unfortunate, right? We should have never been at this point because Kyrie Irving, they all know Kyrie Irving isn't anti Semitic. This dude is cutting this tree down by my house and pissing me off. But Kyrie Irving isn't anti Semitic at all. They know that. You see, that's the thing is that the people know who they are and they know who you are. And so they already know you aren't these things. So it's like, well, why are y'all going through this whole show? Because they have to convince and fool the rest of the public and make them doubt. That's what it's all about. This thing wasn't about you a long time ago. This thing stopped just being about Kyrie Irving. It became, you're the example. Now, here was Kyrie Irving's concerns and the problems he had and why he really wanted to have this one-on-one with the commissioner. Because Adam Silver and Kyrie Irving never really had any problems of butting heads. Adam Silver told him he had his back during the jab when C-19 was running around. He had Kyrie's back. I don't know who that is. But if anyone wanted to have anything to say or go up against anything, this was a New York City's decision, not a NBA's decision that he couldn't play. We let those have that option be free to play. So the NBA never stopped him from playing. Adam Silver is like, we totally respected your rights and did not disrespect you in that way. That was New York City's law. It had nothing to do with us. So Kyrie expressed his concerns for the Brooklyn Nets, where allegedly Kyrie Irving told Adam Silver that he believes the Brooklyn Nets are purposely doing this to try to lower his value so that no team could sign him, so that he'll have no choice but to take any deal that the Nets offer him. But he says his chance to sign back with the team was lost during the off season when they couldn't get the extension done. That told me the reasons why and the route that they took and the things they wanted me to agree to in order to sign it was something that another player has never done before. Once again, the Brooklyn Nets are creating scenarios that never existed in NBA history just for Kyrie Irving and trying to basically break him. And he's not breaking. So we have another problem. And it's awakening the unfairness and basically the unpragmatic rule of law that they have put in place for Kyrie Irving. Now, looking at all of it playing out, he thinks they purposely went and found this to exploit him. They got people that they pay to follow anything he's doing, any interview, anything that they could take to blow up, to make it into something, to try to hurt Kyrie Irving, because they want Kyrie Irving to come back crawling back to them. But he is not signing back with the Brooklyn Nets. Adam Silver knows what's going on. As far as that's happening, he's aware that the Brooklyn Nets are looking to try to move Kyrie Irving. And he expressed to Kyrie Irving that there's still teams out there that want to sign you, even though this does look bad. We just wanted a clear and defined explanation, like you denouncing everything. He's like, we understand you said nothing wrong. Adam Silver admitted Kyrie Irving said nothing wrong in his interviews. To Kyrie Irving, I'm aware you have never said an anti Semitic word. I've never heard it come out of your mouth. Not once. And I've been knowing you for over a decade. And you've never said anything anti Semitic. For knowing you for over 10 years, I've never heard you say anything anti Semitic. But you posted something that was hurtful to other people. And I felt, and others felt, you didn't definitively make that statement known to those who may not have caught your message or how you worded it. Definitively saying, I don't stand for it. I'm not this person. He's like, just so it could be clear, it can't be misconstrued. And that's what the people didn't get. They were even more confused when you just reiterated what you've said prior. So it was like you were poking them. So Adam was making the case known, but he asked Adam, are you talking to me as the commissioner of the NBA, or are you talking to me as a Jewish man of faith? And he says, I'm talking to you as both, commissioner and a Jewish man of faith. He says, okay, well, you're talking to me as both. So you represent both, right? I'm talking to you as Kyrie Irving, the man who happens to play basketball. I'm a person who knows who I am. I know where I come from. I am Semitic. So I know where I come from. I'm a man of peace. And I carry that everywhere I go. And I've always been that. I'm not in any fights. I'm not in any confrontations. I'm always the one that's there to try to alleviate problems that we might have in the locker room, we might have in our organization. And he says we have a very turmoiled organization in Brooklyn. It's not being ran right. Our coach was fired, and our general manager isn't happy about it, and kind of felt like the players fired his friend, and feels that this is the reason. Oh, so they fired my friend? Okay, now we're gonna embarrass Kyrie Irving. He said, did you notice the timing? It was almost immediate. Immediately after the coach was fired. Now they're coming down on me. His job is on the line, and it's because he's not a very good general manager. In other words, I'm paraphrasing. Now, this is the alleged conversation that went down between two men, Adam Silver and Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie expressed he's not coming back to the Brooklyn Nets next season. He is 100% gone. The Brooklyn Nets are trying to make it like the only thing you are going to be able to do is come back and sign with the Brooklyn Nets and take whatever deal we give you. Because we're going to torpedo your career. You're not going to have a career. The only team that will take you is us. And that's what they're trying to do. And he's making Adam Silver aware. Are you aware of this torturous interference that you're seeing right now? And teams should not be allowed to devalue players. Allegedly, Kyrie Irving brought up Russell Westbrook and how poorly the Lakers handled the Russell Westbrook situation and what they did with Russell Westbrook. The unnecessary stress on his life and his family's life. They made their life in Los Angeles very uncomfortable, where they were supposed to be happy to come home. And we've never done that to athletes before. But it seems to be done more and more to us. This man was most valuable player in the NBA just a few years ago. Has always been respectful, never disrespected the team. He's always showed up to the meetings, practices, any events that a team have, Russ would make time and show up for support. And he does everything the right way. And because he's not playing well, we don't look at the conditions around it. We immediately blame him for the team not playing well. And rip him to shreds. Rip him down, tear him down, everything. We never look at the root cause of the problem. Again, paraphrase. Now, because these people just showed up here, we're not cutting trees, bro. Now, because of certain approvals people have, or certain beliefs that they have, there are a lot of people that don't move in the same tropes as everybody else. We know that, right? Shouts out to Welcome to HDTV. Shouts out to Kwame Brown Bus Life. Absolutely. Shout out to Ticket TV. Shout out to Seahawks Jose Rodriguez's channel. He's back giving out sports videos. He was down for a minute, but he back. Shouts out to the crew. Now, as pointing out the Russell Westbrook situation as an example of what they're doing to him, more and more teams are going to be doing this tactic of lowering the value of their players to try to make them stay or remain with a team and take deals that are unfavorable. Russell Westbrook brought up the point. Russell Westbrook and myself both will be in free agency after the end of the season. And we're both being in the same or similar situation where we're looked at as the bad apple. Russell Westbrook won't get the same contract offers anymore. They made him come off the bench. Now, any team that look at Russell Westbrook will be looking at him in a six-man capacity, and they're going to try to rate him as that when they negotiate his term for contracts. So instead of a person who you know is a starter, you just got him, or you just would require him for the price of a six-man in the NBA. Now, what did you have with Kyrie Irving? His skills hasn't diminished. His ability to play the game hasn't diminished. But now he's looked at as a locker room problem. The Brooklyn Net has made his thing like, oh, he is the problem. In Boston, Kyrie Irving wasn't the problem. The Boston Celtics tried to make it as if Kyrie Irving was the problem once they didn't have him for the playoffs, knowing what he had to go through when he had an infection in his knee from the rust from the screws that was implanted in his leg, in his knee. He went to get the screws taken out, and then he's supposed to have been ready to go in a couple of weeks for the playoffs. The plan was for him to return, but that turned into a blood infection where he had to have a tube go from his heart through his arm. And the Celtics knew he was going through this procedure. He couldn't sleep. His leg had lost all muscle, and his leg was like basically a twig compared to what it used to be. So now it goes from being a situation of him coming back that playoffs, to him being out completely. And will he be able to play again? So his self-conscious, everything was messed up. So a lot of people who make these decisions, and they come around and try to do different deeds. As Adam Silver said, I know personally, I can't tell you which teams, but there are several teams that are very interested in having you as a member of the team. They're not looking at this. I'm going to talk to the owners and general managers and explain to them the Kyrie Irving I just spoke to today, and that you're not a problem and hasn't been a problem. I'm an advocate for Kyrie Irving. That's what the man said to Kyrie. I'm an advocate for you. I don't believe you're a hateful individual. And it was all about the tweet. Well, he's aware of the concerns. But as David Stern has told him prior, his job is to serve the owners. And he also expressed to Kyrie Irving the concerns of an owner. He said, well, how do you think that something like this benefits the Brooklyn Nets? This doesn't. It hurts their franchise. When they have their star players that they're paying all this money to, and it's not equaling wins on the court, someone's going to lose their job. Someone's going to be traded. This is the natural process of doing business. Kyrie Irving said, Well, if you look at the New York's Knicks, who's our neighbors, they haven't been what you would call a successful franchise until late. They weren't even making the playoffs. And that team always, always sold tickets. So they felt we could just get one player, pay him money, and we're okay because people are still going to pay to go to New York City, Madison Square Garden to see the game. And those tickets are high, so the owners don't have to bend to a player's will. They don't make the playoffs, and they're fine. And the reason that is, and that Kyrie was bringing that point up, and it was clear that he could see other teams have done this before. It's not like once they paid Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, oh, we're not winning. This is a failure. There's plenty of teams that have paid for teams and players, and they hadn't won. The Houston Rockets paid out tremendously for Chris Paul, James Harden. They had all these people come to Houston to try to help James Harden, and it didn't work. Not once did everybody say, man, this ownership, this team, it's just it's bad, and we got to just blow the whole thing up. The Houston Rockets was one of the one or top two teams almost every year. They were in the Western Conference Finals, second round, third round playoffs. So they did what? They said, okay, it didn't work. Let's just disband with this entire project. The Houston Rockets didn't run James Harden through the ground once he requested a trade. They didn't devalue him. It was time to move on, and everybody done business. Kevin Durant wanted a trade, or well, he didn't. He went from free agency and left Oklahoma City. Kyrie talked about this with Adam Silver and said the NBA, y'all allowed basically the team of the Oklahoma Thunder to disrespect a player who chose to leave with his own free agency. There's a key word in there, and that's free. Kevin Durant was free to make any decision to go to any team he wanted. And instead of you guys saying, okay, that's fine, you didn't like it because it messes with your competition committee. Now it's going to be the scales are unfair because of the talent of a player. He's just one player. It takes a team in order to win. You have to play in a team concept, team game. They didn't go undefeated. Someone beat them that year. So it wasn't like they weren't beatable. Now, here's the scenarios that people need to be engaged in with the conversation. Adam Silver expressed they did handle Kevin Durant's situation poorly, where he tried to make it more comical with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Is like they wanted to build the rivalry with, of competition between Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, but it was getting more personal. But they were just trying to promote the rivalry of the games, to make the Oklahoma City Thunder game and the Golden State Warrior game, even though two teams were totally on two, what he said, they were on two polar opposite scales. One team was headed to championship glory, while the other one was hoping maybe they can get into the playoffs. And he's like, normally, no, people would turn that game off, but now you have this tension, you have this storyline, which captivates people into watching it, and it worked. He's like, that was one of the highest attended games, like as far as attention goes, from media, sports world, TMZ, It was all over the place. So, as the commissioner of the NBA, that's part of their job is to, the marketing team of the NBA. He was explaining to Kyrie Irving that these things happen all the time, where these rivalries are created, but they didn't do it for a malicious attack on Kevin Durant. That wasn't the purpose of what the NBA was doing. What they were doing was marketing the actual competition between the two athletes and building that, oh, this bad blood here, like these guys are going to compete on a competing competition level. Like, this is a game that's consequence. This game has meaning, and you guys should pay attention to it. That's all he was saying. But it gotten very personal. So they drew back. He said the NBA drew back the promoting and the fanning of it because of what happened, and they actually tried to have this dialogue, like trying to work through the resolution between Durant and Russ Westbrook because they both were on the West and they both would end up being on the All-Star team. So we couldn't have this brew into the All-Star game because now it's affecting personal relationships. You got Russell Westbrook warming up on the other end of the court in the All-Star game, away from the team. With the All-Star game, everybody is one team. Even if they don't really like each other, they're playing on the same team. As Adam Silver said, Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, they were the most vicious in competition and battle. But in the All-Star game, you would think they were brothers. They've never had a fight or argument during All-Star weekend. They would hug each other, laugh and joke, and try to take each other's head off 3 days later. It's That's just how the game was. It's entirely different with this new generation. They take in, they hold on to grudges, and they don't know how to channel it for one thing, just for the competition of the game, and then turn it off or go do something else. They harbor it and they take it on through everything, and they're trying to find that medium to where they could be able to market the competition of the games and promote, just the competition value. To have those old rivalries like Indiana versus the Pacers versus, let's say, the Knicks, for example. Pacers and Knicks game. Things of that nature, you know? I never saw anybody have a conversation with another player about these intercomings. Like, this is conversations that Adam Silver normally has with LeBron James. So I've been told. LeBron and Adam Silver and Chris Paul speak a lot. Throughout the tenure, his whole tenure, LeBron James was listened to. They went with his directions, but Adam can't get him the wins he wants. He can get him the horses. He can help pull strings. Um, they have broken every rule almost in trying to make a LeBron James team successful. And the problem is LeBron has not accepted the fact that his time is over. Your time atop the NBA is over. And the players that you wanted on your team are not good enough to carry you. LeBron wants his cake and to be able to eat it too. Unfortunately, LeBron James' name was not brought up in his conversation with Adam Silver. I would have brought it up. And I've been like, yeah, your butt buddy came over here going up on the podiums talking bad about me when every other player stayed quiet. And then you hear other Jewish sports media personnel say, well, we stood with them for Black Lives Matter. There was Jewish people standing up. We marched in the streets, and we don't get the same thing back in return. The NBA players go quiet when it's Jewish people being discriminated against. All the players are silent. Their silence was heard. They stayed silent because this was not a discrimination. People who marched in the streets didn't do it so that somebody would owe them something. They marched in the streets because they didn't know what else to do, to be seen and get the attention, to be heard. They didn't know what else to do because they have not been organized. They have not been unified. Everybody is individual. So when someone say, hey, we got to make a symbol, we have to assemble and come together. That's how we'll be heard as one voice. So they marched in the streets. They got megaphones and they yelled. And they let the world know about the injustice that was happening to them. And to compare that injustice to somebody leaving a tweet on Twitter when people are losing their lives, and you're comparing that to a tweet and saying their silence is noticed. They're silent because that's an in-house issue that's very, very effing small. And if you're so outraged and you're so hurt, go march in the streets to get the video taken down, or a documentary, or a movie. But no, it's still burning it up on Amazon. So, and he's got more. He don't just have that one, he got more. So if you cared so much, why aren't you fighting to get it taken down? You got all the power, but you ain't got the power to get the movie and documentary taken down? Because that wasn't the real goal, was it? Sean Marks has put himself in the crosshairs. He knows Nash is gone. He had no choice but to get rid of his buddy, and he's next. Now they're trying to say Kyrie Irving wasn't running the plays Nash was sending in. Who said that? Oh, a former team scout for the Brooklyn Nets said that Kyrie Irving wasn't, he totally blew off 10 straight plays that the coach was sending in. If he blew a play off, believe me, it was to be blown off. Nash gonna come up with winning play. They're doing anything that they can to save face, and they're just making it worse. They want to make Nash look good so he can get another job. This man did not serve as an assistant on a bench at all. He was a shooting coach. He in there working with people on their shots. And he just catapults to head coach. And when they got Steve Nash, And they ran it by Kevin Durant and they ran it by Kyrie Irving. They explained it to them. Well, it's going to be like coach by committee. He's more of a player's coach. He's more of a player than he was a coach. So you guys are all going to help each other. So, he's just going to handle the mundane tasks of getting the younger guys up to speed, up to snuff. You guys are veterans. You guys know what you want to run. You know what to do. So he's basically there to be the player's coach. There's problems, y'all work it out with the coach, and he's gonna keep the other teammates in line. That's how it was presented to them. Like, we're getting Nash because now you don't have to worry about a coach interfering with what you guys are gonna do. You and Kevin. And Kevin knows him. And Kyrie's like, well, Kevin knows him more than I know him. So I'm going off what Kevin told me about him. Like, he's a great guy, blah, 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 blah. No problems with Kyrie Irving when they hired Nash. Or Kevin Durant was like, all right, whatever. So it's like coach by committee. And that's how it was explained to them. They were cool with it. Then what happened? Everything starts to fall to pieces. After crediting Nash all throughout the playoffs, they almost beat the Bucks. Kevin Durant's toe was on the line. And after that, everything got dismal. Why does everyone have a problem with anything someone else says? If someone else gives their opinion, why do you matter and get all upset? That's another thing that blows me about y'all. Y'all get so mad about someone else having an opinion. If they have an opinion, let them have it. It's their opinion. They want to follow it. They want to believe it. Let them. It's theirs. You can add or interject, and if people want to still believe it, I'm not here to convince people to change minds. I'm here to give you information that you probably wasn't privy to. And that could probably help you in your decision making. But a lot of people don't think when they make decisions, they just follow. They have another situation which I'm going to address. The Gene Deal WAC 100 thing, I'm going to address that later on today. But yes, on the Patreon, we did expand more on the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar situation about the JDL trying to kidnap him. We we brought that up, and we just keep moving forward. Somebody said, oh, I did not see this until now. Jesus Christ. I have no idea what in the world she's talking about. I mean, cool for who? Oh man, you talking about King's Disease 3 is fire. I gotta check that out. Wow. People, I tell you. Mm. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the situation, man. That just really got to me right there. But what more do you want from Kyrie Irving, Adam Silver? Because a lot of this falls on your head. See, Adam Silver don't want to take responsibility for this, but you are the commissioner of the NBA. You keep walking a fine line of not wanting to offend the players and be liked on both sides of the fence. It doesn't work that way. Your job is to serve the owners and the league. And because you don't know how to balance both, because you're not authoritative enough, what David Stern would do was be final. This whole situation with Kyrie Irving would not have went on this long with David Stern. It would have been final. He suspended a game, 2 games from the start. The NBA would have took advantage, took the heats and said, Brooklyn, you're milking this thing longer. We thought you guys could handle this in-house. First, David Stern would have scolded the Brooklyn Nets for not handling this in-house and handling it in the effing media. Then the NBA would have took over, gave him a game suspension, and says if he says anything else, then we'll extend the games. There wouldn't have been no stipulations that don't exist for him to come back and join the team. He must do this, X, Y, and Z. That stuff would have been eliminated before it even came by, before it could even be posted out. David Stern was not a man of this new modern age technology of sensitivity. Stern was the perfect name for him. Stern. It was what he said, and that was it. Ask Silly Gilly when he had the gun case, and he said, if you fight me on this, oh no, it was a vote. It was a vote of one, me. That was the vote. The vote was one of one, me. I made the decision. And if you fight me on this, I'm taking your whole NBA contract. See, that's a commissioner basically breaking all rules that established in the league, period. Breaking them all. Saying you must go. So let that sink in. No. I have definitely came up from a different environment. Like I saw No. All right, let me get on this call because this is going to really piss me off. I want to say shouts out to everybody again, but I will say this. Adam Silver is good at one thing, marketing. That's his thing. Marketing the NBA has been his forte for a very long time. And when you're marketing in the NBA, he's trying to expand the game outside of the United States because he knows the United States, like most of them, they're not. Most of the people in the NBA, they have to understand something. He knows that most of the blacks, us, we're not watching the NBA like we used to. We watch some parts of the game. We'll watch a game here and there. We're actually watching highlights on YouTube. That's what he's saying. Y'all don't watch the game. They don't cater the game to you. Who watched the NBA? More whites. We play it. They watch it. And he wants to market it to them. Black Americans, they don't care about you. Y'all don't watch the games. Only a few of you. Y'all are so distracted with everything else. And really, white Americans. There's more of them at the games, but no one really cares. You know why? Because they want this game to go international. The NBA is turning into the Euro League. And I told you this process years ago. Now, this is turning more and more into a Euro League. From the style of play, now you're having more and more Euro players in the NBA drafts than ever before. And pretty soon, it will be a balance with white players, black players, international players. They want a guy from India. See, the Spurs did it right when they got all of those players, Ginobili, Tony Parker, and they were winning. But a large part of that was the Spurs were being carried. Now, when they had Boris Diaw, all of these international players was on the Spurs. And they were winning games. And a lot of the times they were carried to be the rivals against the Lakers and all these other teams. And when that style of play was winning, and they had Timmy and it opened the door in the market for the San Antonio Spurs. There were people internationally wearing Spurs gear. In Turkey, Tony Parker's Spurs jersey was the number one selling jersey in Turkey. The shipping of all the Spurs gear, championship gear, they made a killing overseas. Way more than they made in the United States. There's not too many Spurs fans in the United States of America unless you're really in the San Antonio area. Now, if you go outside of San Antonio, it's very far afield. It's not like the Chicago Bulls. So when you start seeing Spurs jerseys in Argentina, when you start seeing it all over the world and in Italy and France and all of these people are wearing San Antonio Spurs. that right there is a huge accomplishment. And definitely for sports. So I want to say thank you again to everyone who liked the videos that we're putting out, and we're keeping you guys full of information. Adam Silver, this is from what I know, he's up for another. They're going to talk in a few years about him and his contract, and there have been talks about him stepping down as commissioner to do something else. But we're going to see how far that goes. But I don't think he's actually going to leave. I've heard rumblings of that. Um, no, the Chicago Bulls were not trying to acquire Kyrie Irving. That was another question I brought up. That was brought up to me, rather. But Kyrie Irving is not going to the Chicago Bulls. Teams that I think Kyrie might be interested in going to in free agency. Um, it's very hard, but I think he'll be traded first in the second half of the season, or before the trade deadline, or probably as soon as he gets back. There are other teams that have players that they want to move and bring to a team. No, I do see him in the Midwest. Like I could see the Indiana Pacers bringing him there, but it would be nothing but headaches for him if he goes to Indiana. Michael Jordan could take him in Charlotte. I don't see that happening. I don't see Michael Jordan dealing with Kyrie in Charlotte. But I don't know who the teams are that Adam Silver said that he spoke to. He could have been just talking at Jazz, but that's the name of the game now, isn't it? Hmm. Well, anyway, I've burnt out my welcome. Hmm. Thanks everybody for coming through. I was gonna make this a complete 1 hour, 1 hour video. No, first it was gonna be a 15-minute video. Then I said, all right, we'll stop it at 20. Then we kept cooking with Crisco, so we It went to 30, and I said, all right, we're going to cut it off at 30. Then 45. And I was like, all right, it's a 45 single. Now, next thing you know, here we go approaching an hour. So, do I got 5 more minutes? Why not? Let's stay around. 5 more minutes. Now, I think Adam Silver needs to take his waspy ass and go do something else. Get the hell out of my league. I don't need you here. Your confusion and indecisiveness has caused all these problems. Other teams are rising up. Other team owners are making decisions. Now, here's what the people are mad about. Robert Salver had to go. Adam was pissed about that because now you're taking a guy who has cash flow, legitimate liquid cash flow, and taking that cash flow out of the NBA over some things he should have been suspended on. He was pissed. He had to come out and make that speech. He was stumbling and stuttering all over the damn place. He, the players, yeah, there's no place for this in our league. So now they want to come and make an example of Kyrie Irving, and this was not even fair. Because Kyrie had nothing to do with Robert Salver, never said anything about Robert Salver, but those people in the ADLs and the JDLs, they wanted to make an example. Somebody had to go. So what if it's this guy? That guy gotta go, so what? Let him go. But someone's gotta pay here. That was the mentality. I've never had that problem before. You've had other people that, yeah, they make those analogies. Me going to the gun range. Now, when people make their apologies or their innuendos, as you might want to state, that there are decisions that are made that shouldn't even be been made in the first place. Um, there are decisions that were made that shouldn't have ever been on the table, and that's just that. Yeah, I'm ticked off. I just got a text message that I'm finna go cut somebody out in about 60 seconds. Yeah, it might be on the hood store. But that's that, man. So, Jesus Christ. I hate being misunderstood. This. Whew, the things I could say on this list. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. Yeah, this is crazy. Looking at all this stuff, man, it's nuts. Um, Thank you for listening to me this long. My cash app is Carcino, Karceno. I am out the door. I am ready to go off. Don't you hate when people turn around and ask you for something after yeah, you're happy to see them? Now, he's like, oh, hey, I ain't seen you in a minute. And then here come the other shoe that's finna drop. It's like, I'm not responsible for your life. You know what I'm saying? I am not responsible for your life and the decisions that you've made in your life. You don't get to go and do whatever the hell you want to do, F it up, and then I'm supposed to come fix it and help you out just because you went and did something crazy that you know you shouldn't. It's not my responsibility. Guilt trips don't work on me. Sorry. Because I ain't got nothing to feel guilty about. So, yeah, I'm nice and pissed. Let me go deal with this.